Back here on CBS Sports HQ, and you're taking a look at Danny Kanell's college football playoff power rankings. Unlike the committee, he has Ohio State as the top team, Indiana number 2. His pick to win the whole thing, Oregon, at number 3. And, we got Tulane at 79 and JMU at 91 out of 12. Ouch, Danny. Disrespect for the G5 teams here, but fair. I'll give you that. I'll give you fair.
Our producer, Emily, our producer, Jack, I was curious to see if he would put that up there. Like, they're not the 79th and 90th, but I was trying to make a point. Like, yes. They don't belong in this conversation. And that might have been a little bit harsh, but we get the point.
No, the point absolutely was made in there. But I got to start at the top as opposed to the bottom. Ohio State at number 1. I thought head-to-head mattered, Danny.
It absolutely does, but he did ask for a power ranking, not who, because I did pick Indiana to win that football game. And one of the reasons I did was because we hadn't seen Ohio State tested, and we had seen Indiana tested a few times throughout the season, whether it was their comeback win against Penn State, they had a road win against Iowa that came down to a final possession. They had at least been in positions where they had to make decisions as coaches, like when to kick a field goal, when to go for it, what play calls you're going to call, like going for a QB sneak on 4th and 1, like Ohio State did. And so they had that advantage. I think Ohio State, again, from a pure power-rated standpoint, they have better players. Like, I saw them on the field, and I almost switched my pick, by the way, Emily, because I was like, Ohio State is so impressive. But that is where Indiana, I thought, was one of the best coaching jobs. They were out-coached, and they played better. But I do think Ohio State could benefit from this loss by correcting some of those issues, evaluating how they call plays with an offensive line that did get exposed somewhat, giving up 5 sacks. So that's where I fall here with Ohio State still being the best power-rated team of everybody. They still have so much NFL talent that's out there. They still have that defense, which probably has 3 or 4 first-round draft picks. They still are the most talented team in the country.
Yeah, they still managed to not give up more than 16 points in a single game this season. So that all still remains. If we look at the Big Ten as a whole, though, Danny, the Big Ten has the top 3 teams in your power rankings. I know we joke that you're a notable SEC hater. I don't think you're being a hater here. How significant is how top-heavy the Big Ten is here as we enter the postseason?
I mean, I think it's a very real dynamic, what we've seen, and it's why the Big Ten has won, the national championship, whether it was Ohio State or Michigan the last couple seasons, and why the SEC hasn't even gotten a team to compete in the national title game. They've come up short in the Final Four. There is a shift, and I think you're seeing way more parity. Like, the SEC is the deeper league, but the parity has actually hurt the SEC because it's taken away their teams like a 2020 Alabama, which was so good, so much better than everybody. When you had Georgia winning multiple national championships, they had so much talent on their roster. It was like they hoarded LSU in 2019, all that NFL talent. They had hoarded it. That talent throughout the SEC has been spread out. Now, the difference to me is with the Big Ten, the talent is still being hoarded at the top, and Indiana is a part of that. They are spending a lot of money. Like, this is a great story, and Kirk Cinnetti's been awesome, but they are going out and spending some money to get players in the transfer portal. Look at their offensive and defensive lines. Pat Coogan, the center from Notre Dame. Benson, a tackle from Colorado. Like, they've paid to get up, so you're able to kind of hoard that talent because the rest of the teams in the Big Ten are still playing catch-up a little bit. Now, I do think that changes, and you see more depth coming into the Big Ten when you see a school like Michigan State get $400 million as a gift. You'll see some of that come to fruition, but right now, those teams, especially these 3 at the top, they've been able to kind of hoard the talent from the rest of the Big Ten, and even more so from the rest of the country.
Yeah, new era for Michigan State, as you mentioned, also for Penn State with Matt Campbell being introduced today. So could be some more powers emerging in the Big Ten Conference. But let's go to the lone team in the ACC. You have Miami at number 6, despite them being the last team in. What has you so high on the Canes as they enter the postseason?
The same thing that had me high on them, and really the entire country high on them when they went through that first, 5-6 games of their schedule unscathed, when they beat Florida, when they beat USF, when they beat Florida State, and, they looked and beat Notre Dame, by the way. When they went through that gauntlet, if you remember the narrative, there were a lot of people saying, I think that could be the number 1 team in the country. They look built different. And then you have a loss to Louisville where your quarterback throws 4 interceptions and Carson Beck. And then you have a loss at SMU. And, Carson Beck again throws an interception in overtime. Those to me weren't devastating losses. Like, those were good football teams they lost to. And by the way, when Carson Beck threw 4 interceptions, they still only lost by a field goal. Like, despite the turnovers, how many teams would be able to do that? It's a line of scrimmage game. Miami has an offensive and defensive line which are built to make a run in the college football playoff, to be able to protect going against Texas A&M's defensive front and Cassius Howell, which is really dominant. Miami's offensive line is still one of the best in the country. So I think Miami still has the talent that we all thought we've had in the first 5-6 weeks of the season. It's still there. And in fact, it might be better because of those losses. Carson Beck is playing better. They're blocking more up front. I think this team could be one of the ones that could make a run.
So Miami was the last team in. The second to last team in was Alabama, but you have them as your lowest ranked power conference team behind number 79 Tulane and number 91 James Madison. How much of that did you factor in recency bias versus what we've seen Alabama at their peak this season?
Oh, it's definitely recency bias. Like, this is a power ranking based on how you're playing right now. And I mean, if we were just going off the last month of the college football season, with Bama losing 2 of their last 4 games, with them barely beating an Auburn team, which finished with 5 wins, and a game against Eastern Illinois that no one watched, but Ty Simpson had 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in that game, I don't even think you make the case that they should be ranked in the top 25 if you just went off recency bias. But we still have to recognize the big wins that they did get, going to Georgia earlier this season, having some impressive wins there, Tennessee, and the likes of that, Vanderbilt. They did beat some good teams, but I almost look at this team, when they lost to Oklahoma, that's when the tailspin started. Oklahoma's defense is really good, but I do think that rocked Ty Simpson's confidence, as well as gave teams a glimpse of what happens if you can pressure him and if you can stop their run. And they have not been able to find an answer to that problem. And until they do, I am just not a believer in Alabama being able to do much damage in the college football playoff.
Yeah, losers of 2 of their last 4 games. Of course, the last time out, and not pretty for that run game in particular, -3 yards in the SEC championship game, which is so strange to see from a team like the Crimson Tide, just historically. Danny, let's talk about those last 2 teams in, Tulane and James Madison. And we joke with their rankings, but they are number 11 and number 12 for you in this power ranking. You're more than welcome to use your hands to signal this, but what % chance do you give one of those guys to give us an upset?
Oh, in the game, I would say, like, for one game, pull off an upset, it's college football, right? So I would say a 3% chance. Like, it's not very big. But, I mean, and Tom Fornelli has been pounding the table. We did see App State beat Michigan, 20-something years ago. We've seen upsets before of ginormous proportions, so it wouldn't shock me. I just don't think either of these teams could run the table and be a national champion. And I would definitely give the edge to Tulane. I mean, James Madison, we just haven't seen them play against many Power 4 teams. You referenced I do think Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. Ole Miss is a little bit more vulnerable with an interim head coach. You wonder where some of those players' mindset is, like exactly where are they? How much impact does it have, Lane Kiffin not being there? I don't think much. And Tulane did at least beat 2 Power 4 teams. Like, they did beat Northwestern and they beat Duke pretty convincingly. So of these 2 teams, I would definitely give Tulane more of an advantage and more of an opportunity to potentially pull off the upset. And that's why the point spread is a little bit closer. So I would give Tulane a little bit of an edge there, and I think Tulane would probably have the better, percentage to claim that and potentially pull off the upset. But it's in Oxford. We already saw this game once. It was 45-10. I just think these teams are in over a little bit over their heads.
Both coaches with some interesting storylines as well. Of course, Tulane's head coach, John Summerall, has accepted the position at Florida. So I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about how that could potentially play into this. It's all connected, though, Danny Kanell. Thank you for giving us your power rankings for the college football playoff. I'm sure they're talking a lot about the playoff on the Cover 3 podcast today and throughout the week. You can watch by scanning the QR code or listen wherever you find your podcasts.